Let's go out to Little Rock, Arkansas and talk to Scott. Scott, bail me out, dude.
Dr. John, it's a pleasure. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it, brother. What's up, man?
So I am 3 years post-affair in my marriage and 2.5 years into reconciling it. I was the one who had the affair. I was the one who initiated the reconciliation. I ended it with the other person and told my wife that I was committed to us and committed to doing the work to reconcile the marriage and rebuild it into what it was supposed to be. And, we've had our ups and downs. And at this point, 2.5 years in, I am wrestling with the question of when do you throw in the towel and just say it's too far gone. Progress isn't being made, and we are just forever going to be stuck.
Number one, thanks for laying it out that way. And this isn't going to pay your rent, but what you're experiencing is one of the most common conversations I have with folks post affair, which is that sense of feeling of loyalty and guilt. And I remember why I love you. And then 1 to 2 to 3 years in, that sense of, oh, and now I remember why I stepped out. Or I remember how the environment was created, and I got on a track that I made some stupid decisions. When you say you're ready to throw in the towel, what's not there that you think should be there, or you would like to be there?
Well, I mean, what I need deep emotional connection and vulnerability and intimacy with my wife.
What does that mean? Those are buzzwords that are like stitch on a pillow
Sure.
words. What does that mean? Give me some actions.
Well, I need her to be able to tell me what she is feeling. I need her to be able to tell me how she's feeling and communicate to me when I am doing something that is making her feel less than, making her feel unsafe. And I need to be able to do the same and feel like I'm not being punished, and I need for her to come to me confidently. And, ultimately this part is my responsibility, but I need to make sure that I foster an environment where she doesn't feel like I'm punishing her.
Are you doing that?
I think I am. I'm certainly doing my best. I will readily admit, if you can name the stupid things that the wayward spouse has done post-affair to try to justify, rationalize, whatever, I've probably done it. It's just, and at the same time, I started going to therapy, and I've had regular appointments with a therapist trying to sort through my own dysfunction. No, I'm not perfect. There's a lot of, even just recently, I caught myself in the middle of an argument where she did express something to me, and I was a few minutes in, and I thought, you know what? I've completely turned this around, and I've made this about me. And I called myself out at that point and said, I don't want to do that to you. And it's frustrating to me because I don't feel like I get anywhere with it. Even when I do call myself out, it's met with a response of, see, this is how it is. This is how it's always been. And I'm just tired.
I got that. But can two things be true at the same time?
Yes, sir.
Can it really have been how it's been all this time, and you're both exhausted at how you respond to things?
100%.
And that's a tricky place to find yourself, right? Because that's the act of throwing in the towel. Like, yes, I keep falling back into old patterns. I keep falling back into old situations, and your body keeps telling you you're not safe again and again and again. And dude, I'm just so tired of trying. I get that. Have you told her directly what you just told me?
Yes, I have.
What does she say to that?
Well, I mean, she puts up her guard because in her mind, she says you're taking the easy way out by leaving divorce as an option on the table. And it kind of just stops there.
Well, have you put divorce on the table?
Yeah, I mean, I have.
How is she supposed to anchor into that, dude?
That's a good question.
I mean, so you blew this thing up, knowing there's always two sides to a story. And I'm not saying there was an environment. I'm sure there was participation on both sides. I'm not one of those guys, okay? But you stepped out. It happened. Yep. And then I'm assuming there was some significant fracture, and you came back and said, I'm back in. I want in. And she said, cool. And then somewhere along the way in the last 2.5 years, you put divorce back on the table. It's just hard to anchor back into. And here's I keep having this sense, tell me if I'm crazy. It almost feels like you're throwing the towel in on Scott.
I mean, I want to listen to that a little bit more. I don't think that I am. I actually am pretty amazed at a lot of the personal progress that I've made in the past few years.
Is she not making any?
It's hard to say. I mean, this is hard to say because what I did to her is not her fault.
Okay.
She didn't ask for it. And I cannot imagine being on the receiving end of what I did to her.
Have you forgiven you, man?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Did she forgive you?
She says she has.
You don't think so?
No, because it just things from the past, even stuff that predates my affair, just it constantly comes up in arguments.
And I'll say that's not cool. It's like once you're back on the, hey, we're on this track, that's not cool to bring up 2 and 5 and 7 and 8-year-old things. That's hard.
I constantly find out that she still will tell people randomly about what I did. And I mean, I understand that that's her story too. She's entitled to do that.
Yeah, but there's some sanctity things. Yeah, there's some sanctity things that are private, and there's some. Yeah, there's telling your story, but then there's also spreading somebody else's shame. That's tough. So take me back to your affair, dude. Like, what was it about that happened? Like, what did that give you?
It honestly, it was an ego thing. It was me indulging my ego, and
yeah, but your ego needed something. What was it? What did it get?
It needed connection. Okay. It needed that intimacy. There was just a relational hole. I needed to feel heard. I needed to feel I had influence. I needed to feel like my words mattered. And I found it in all the wrong places, temporarily.
And when your wife has heard that, does she agree with you, or does she say, no, that's not true at all? I was listening to you. Your words did matter in this house.
She agrees to it, and then I usually get met with you have to understand my personality, just to lend myself to that. That's the response that I get.
Yeah, and I don't buy that. That's not true. That's a choice, right? So I get that frustration that you're experiencing. That's tough. Or there's something about the vulnerability when you say, I need this. And the person you love says, I can't do that. Yeah, that's a really tough spot to be in.
I mean, just a good example. About 10 years ago, I had a pretty significant event happen that it was over professional and personal lines, and it had to do with my family. It had to do with work. It was not a personal failure on my part. And I remember just confiding in her, telling her kind of what happened. Part of it involved me feeling like I did not protect my family like I should have. And I remember just kind of being met with a blank look on that. And at that point, I just knew. I said, told me she's not going to be here for me when I need her. And I carried that with me.
Was it real?
It was very real. I still deal with it to this day.
Have you talked to her about that moment?
Yeah, I have.
What'd she say?
And she says that she didn't realize how badly it was hurting me at the time.
And that what's the right word? That acknowledgement is huge, but then the actions that come after speak volumes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming it's like, man, I'm so sorry I hurt you. And then the behavior of hurting you is just continued.
Yeah. And it wasn't a conscious act of hurting me. It felt like indifference almost.
Yeah. And it's sounding more and more, I was really captivated by some research done by Esther Perel, one of the great relationship minds of our time, who said that most people step out for one reason, and it can be distilled down to one word, and it's alive. I felt, people say heard, I felt excited, desired, wanted, but I finally felt alive again. And if you feel like you're with somebody that is just indifferent to struggling, or I know how tough it is as a grown man to overcome all your social conditioning, to shut your mouth and just plod ahead, to look at somebody that you care about and love and say, hey, I really think I botched this up and I'm so sorry. And they just look at you like, I don't really care. Like, that's brutal, man. It's brutal.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a pass to go do what you did. And I don't think you would suggest that was a pass. But
not at all.
Here's what I think. I mean, you're 2.5 years in. I think there's a moment when you've heard me say this analogy, but I think y'all are here. Where you have to turn all the lights on, turn the music off, and go somewhere for a half day and have a grown-up conversation about, are we going to keep doing this or not? And I think in these moments, there has to be some crystal clarity on both sides. I need you to not bring up anything from the past. If I say, and I'm going to tell you this, my wife has been this kind of clear with me, and it has been a lifesaver for me. Admittedly, I was craving ways to connect, but she would say, if I say this, please don't respond with the following 2 or 3 things. Because she knew I was trying to love her the best I could, and those 2 or 3 things shut her down. And so she was that clear with me. Or y'all go sit down and have a grown-up conversation and say, are we going to continue this? And if we're not, we have to be grown-ups about how we separate this thing out. But I think you're at a place where you're done wishing that things are going to be different. You're tired of tripping as you're practicing living in a new way, and then the whole past gets rolled back out on you. Like, it just sounds like a big mess.
It is.
Has she been in couples counseling with you?
We've done 2 intensives. We did couples counseling for a little bit, and we're not presently seeing a couples therapist. I'm seeing an individual therapist, and she herself is not seeing anybody right now.
Okay. What is your counselor telling you to do?
My counselor is in he's not telling me to do anything. He listens. The biggest thing that he has been teaching me is to avoid taking offense easily, because when I do, it takes the focus off of what somebody's coming at me with, and it puts it on myself. And so that's actually been a huge focus of the work that I've been trying to do.
Sure. And is he right? If your wife gives you the wrong look, it sounds like you hold her to that look for years.
I think I do.
Yeah. Or if she doesn't respond in exactly the right way, you don't have a grace period. It's just all or nothing.
I wouldn't say that I have a fiery temper. I don't.
No. I don't think it's that. It's not all or nothing. It is on or off. I never yell in my house, but there are moments when my wife says something the wrong way. I'm out. Bye. And I'm not leaving, but I have disassociated, and now she can see it on me. Right?
I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Okay. So your wife can say the wrong thing, and she can see it all over you.
Yeah, I think she can.
Yeah. And she also has probably learned by this point there's no coming back.
Yeah, I think she probably has. And I guess one of the things I want to just point out is that I want direct talk. I want to know when I'm doing something right, and I want to know when I'm doing something wrong.
Absolutely. What does she say? She won't give you that?
No, she won't. I told her the other day that I feel like I've been put in a dark room and just been told to find my way to the door.
That's a fair analogy. I like that.
And the only way that I can find that I'm going the wrong way is when I stub my toe on the furniture.
Very fair. Why won't she tell you what she needs?
I think it's because she says she doesn't feel safe. And there's credibility to that.
Yeah. At some point, she's going to have to be an adult and say, the safety's not going to come back in this marriage. Like, I'm not going to ever feel safe again. Or give you some direction on, here's the things I'm going to need you to do so that I feel safe. I applaud you, man, for coming back. And I applaud you for doing all the work you've done on yourself. I really do. And I applaud you for saying, I need these things. And that's the other side to being vulnerable, is that somebody you love can say, sorry, man, I can't do that. Or I'm not going to do that. Or that's just the way I am. And for everybody listening, I don't buy that in a marriage context at all. I don't buy that hook, line, and sinker for anybody. Well, that's just me. I don't buy it. It's easy. But I can tell from personal experience, there were some moments when here's how I interact with the world. And if I continue to interact with the world like this, my marriage will be over. And so I had to choose that over me, which is a whole act of getting married in the first place. But Brother Scott, here's the deal. You've put in a ton of work, man. Put in a ton of work. And when you said I'm back in and she said we're back in, y'all were back in. But it sounds like there's differing degrees on who's working on what and how, who's working on who and when and all that mess, man. And so at this point, I think we need to go out and we need to put it on the table. Do you want to stay married to me? If you want to stay married to me, here's what I need. And I really want to stay married to you. And please tell me what you need to feel safe. Tell me what you need to do these things. And if you can't tell me, then behavior is a language. Then you don't want this thing to work. You just want me to be the bad guy. Or you are just hurt in a way that I'm never going to be able to overcome it. And so be it. I did step out on you. I did cheat on you, whatever you want to say. I did cheat on you. And if we can't come back, we can't come back. But I need us to both be adults and call it. But I think that's where we are. I think the intensives are cool when you have therapists that moderate that. I think y'all are past that at this point. I think you're at let's just go be adults. And let's just promise not to shut down on each other. Let's just promise to write down things that we need. Let's promise to have this really challenging, tough conversation to decide. Are we going to give it 30 more days, 60 more days, 90 more days? Or are we going to just say, hey man, we gave it our all. And we could never come back from what I did earlier. I'm sorry you're there, man. This is tough. It's tough. My hope is, regardless of the baggage, the challenges, that any couple going through this situation can at least have enough dignity and respect for themselves and for the other person that they're married to be honest and to sit straight across from each other eye to eye and say, what are we going to do now? I'm sorry, my brother. Let me know how that conversation goes, man, because I'm rooting for you guys.